studying have you actually done of 9/11 other than what the government's told you and what mainstream media has told you? I've been studying it 4 years.
I was editor of a national newspaper.
I've talked to people. Wait a minute.
In-depth every day for 5-6 months.
Really?
So I know a lot about it.
Well,
and one
then
thing
how
I do
come,
know is
let me ask you this
you
then.
cannot say that any member of the Bush administration knew it was going to happen and wanted it to happen. It's a ridiculous thing to say.
Ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about your BBC. I have a tape of a BBC reporter broadcasting directly back to England talking about a third building has collapsed. World Trade Center Building 7 talks for 7 minutes. All the while she's talking, World Trade Center Building 7 is still standing right behind her. It didn't fall for another half hour, yet they were doing a pre-broadcast back to England that, yes, it's true, that this building fell and it hadn't fallen yet.
If you're trying to make out the British Broadcasting Company, one of the most respected news organisations in the world, was inventing huge buildings falling over, you need to have a break, Jesse. We'll come back after the break and we'll talk about Israel and Iran.
Are you kidding me? This is a fact, my friend.
We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York, behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job. But this isn't the first building that has suffered as a result. We know that part of the Marriott Hotel next to the World Trade Center also collapsed as a result of this huge amount of falling debris from 110 floors of the two twin towers of the World Trade Center. As you can see behind me, the Trade Center appears to be still burning. We see these huge clouds of smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now, and New York is still unable to take on board what has happened to them today.
Now knowing that BBC lied on live television about World Trade Center 7, you should also know that they were covering up Jimmy Savile, one of the most prolific pedophiles within the industry. This coincidentally mirrors the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up.
Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal.
The point of this video was to make sure that the people knew that we can never trust the media for the lies that they have told. They all mimic and parrot each other, and it's very obvious.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous.
A new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
George Bush is a known Freemason. Here he is pictured in a Masonic robe, and by now you should know the history of this country. George Washington was a Freemason. George Bush was signed into office while taking the oath with the George Washington Bible. Here, you have George Bush and Bill Clinton, as well as having the two in another picture with George throwing up the Mark Master Mason pose. Now we can get to the focal point of this video. Patrina Ryan Clyde is an artist whose artwork was found in Epstein's Manhattan mansion, portraying Bill Clinton dressed as a woman. Bill was on Epstein's Lolita Express 26 times. Do the red shoes in this picture correlate to the Red Shoe Club? And finally, why did she in another piece of art depict Bush knocking over the Twin Towers with a plane?
We're getting more permissive gun laws. Bad news for people with target-shaped birthmarks. And my guest, Douglas Rushkoff, believes that corporations run the world. Jews and Freemasons, you're off the hook. While we will serve all customers who treat our place of business with respect, we reserve the right to refuse to produce promotional products that promote ideas that are not in keeping with our consciences. This includes, but is not limited to, content promoting homosexuality, Freemasonry, the use of foul language, and imagery which promotes immodesty. Now wait a second. I understand showing the gays the door. But now you're going to discriminate against me because I'm a Freemason? Which I am not, because it's a secret society, and if I were in it, I'd have to lie and say that I am not. Which I am not. And just think of the poor Freemasons. Don't they already face enough judgment? I mean, living a double life, sneaking around, never being able to show their family who they really are. And all the lies. Saying I'm just working late, honey, when really I'm meeting a bunch of men to do God knows what in a windowless hall. I can't believe it's come to this. The Freemasons once controlled the levers of global power, and now we can't get an embroidered apron again, is what I would say. And no, we will not settle for silkscreen. What am I, Shriner? Next up.
This is a perfect example of how they mock the truth in plain sight. Let's move forward, shall we?
Now, Fulford is accusing the Illuminati, the secret society that controls the world, of planning to depopulate the Earth. Now, normally I would ignore this kind of raving from an obscure hack, but there is one reason I want to talk about it. The possibility that the Illuminati might let me join. Masters of the Temple, please let me in. I tried every crazy handshake I can think of when I met President Bush. You would not believe what I'm doing with my fingers here. And I've got some great ideas about depopulating the Earth. There has never been a better time to put me in charge of the destiny of mankind. I will await your answer every night for the next month in the exact center of the Brooklyn Bridge, whose cables, by the way, are in the same geometric ratio as the sides of the Pyramid of Giza. I see patterns where none exist.
He's telling the truth, y'all. Don't be naive and allow yourself to be deceived.